Here we are. Here we are. He's stuck his head out of his hide. He's looking at me, mm, hoping that he's smelling the food. I mean, he must be hungry. I do not know exactly when he was last fed, other than the honey things. He's very skittish though. There you go. He's turning around. He's definitely hungry. He's definitely. There you go. Oh, look at that. That boy was hungry or thirsty. So he's eating mixed vegetables. First, we have collard green called scarole, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Obviously, there's some carrots right there. There is asparagus, and we have a bird seed mix, but it mostly has what is it called, spargum and milk. There's also other seeds, but very like it's a very minimum mix. It doesn't have a lot of the big bird seeds, so it's really good for him. Um, been reading up obviously about his diet, and it's really not recommended to give him other color greens. There's a lot of options that you can feed him, but they're not as nutritional as you would hope. And a lot of people feed them kale, but I've known for a long time that kale actually binds. It has a chemical in it that binds calcium together, which means that when you eat kale, the calcium in the kale and the calcium on your body could bind to this other chemical in the kale and leave your body with it. So, in other words, it either doesn't give you much calcium, if any, and it can also take calcium away from you. So it's not really good vegetable to eat unless you cook it a little bit and then you basically, there's a word for it, but you take away and destroy some of those chemicals, if not all of them, and then the calcium stays, and you can eat that and get calcium from kale. However, I'm not gonna cook kale for the Uromastyx, so I had to go with a more recommended vegetable, which is escarole, sorry, and escaroles to be very good with calcium and a good level of phosphates and other nutrients that is a very balanced vegetable. As you can see, he's definitely eating it really easily. I'm waiting to see if he really will eat asparagus. Asparagus is supposed to be one of those vegetables that is good for them, but I don't know. I just feel like it's very hard to eat compared to collard greens and even carrot. Maybe carrot is hard too. We'll see. We'll see what he eats. And like I said, there's some seeds there and bee pollen on top, very little. So we'll see how hungry he is, because that's a lot of vegetables. But he's a big boy. Obviously eating some of that soil. A lot of people get very concerned about impaction, which is what they call when the animal eats some of the substrate and the substrate does not pass through the digestive system, and then the animal can die from that. They definitely can get a blockage on their intestines or their all the digestive system anywhere, and then when there's a blockage, the food won't go through. They start to get inflated with food that literally cannot get through with poop, and they can die from that very easily. A lot of times, if not most times, if not the vast majority of times, what happens is that the animal is eating the soil on purpose because they lack some nutrients that they can taste in the substrate. A lot of times it's calcium. Although also it can happen when they're eating and they can eat like he's doing right now. He's eating some of that soil, but it should naturally pass through your system. And a lot of times when the animal doesn't get enough humidity, enough heat, his metabolism is not working at the ideal rate or at 100%. Hence, they cannot pass that, you know. And so it shouldn't be an issue. Think about most animals um, eat dust in the wild all the time, and by dust I mean small particles of dirt and whatnot, depending on where they live. Many animals that don't live in places where there is loose substrate all the time, like even rocky areas, people say, well, there's no sand. They shouldn't have sand because they're where they live there is no sand. They never eat sand. That's true, but there is dust. There is dirt. There is a bunch of things that they shouldn't eat, and they eat, and it's part of their natural um, environment. So I guess he wasn't that hungry, which is good. I mean, I learned that he really likes squirrel. He didn't touch the carrots, didn't touch the seeds, didn't touch the asparagus. They studies shown that a big chunk of their diet in the wild is seeds. Varies through seasons, but for the most part, it's around 40% of their diet, 40 to 50, I think. And vegetables is another big chunk, so, and leaves, and things like that, flowers. But the biggest thing is they get a lot of nutrients from seeds, a lot of protein. So I'll make sure to give him a lot of seeds, but right now he didn't seem interested on the seeds that are on top of the carrot. Is definitely still a little worry of me, of my presence. He's constantly looking at me, checking out what I'm doing before he does what he wants to do, which is bask right now, obviously. So there's no trust yet, but it's building up. As you can see, I haven't moved. I keep talking, and he's getting closer. Assessing which whether or not I'm gonna be a threat or bother him. Just like most animals do, honestly. Not many of them just trust you right away. So there we go.